Hello and welcome to Spotlight on Newcastle County, which features all things Newcastle County, Delaware. I'm your host, Melody Kitchen. You never know who we're going to talk to or where we're going to visit. For today's show, I'm pleased to welcome Michael Bagato Jr., who is an executive assistant for County Executive Tom Gordon in the Department of Community Services. Michael is here today to discuss the county's farmers markets in 4 county parks. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Now, to begin with, can you tell us a little bit about what your job pertains to in community services regarding the farmers markets?
Yes, well, I oversee 4 farmers markets for Newcastle County. We started full operation in managing of farmers markets back in 2013. So this year we've expanded to 4 markets.
Okay, and when do you start preparing for these upcoming events?
Well, as a matter of fact, this year we started practically as soon as we ended last year's season. We recently received a grant from the United States Department of Agriculture for about $100,000. So our first task was to really set in line how we were going to spend those funds. And then it started with vendor recruitment as early as January and February. And then, over the last 2 months, we've really kicked into high gear. Just putting together all the final details for the markets.
Sure. How important would you say these farmers markets are to Newcastle County and its community?
Well, I think they're very important. Our customers and our patrons tell us all the time, how much, thank you for having these markets. We really love these markets. It's a great idea. So, it's a gathering place for our communities. We're expecting that each community sort of take each respective market as their own to become stakeholders in the market. So, as far as that's concerned, I think it's very important to the county and to the communities in which they serve.
Now, I know that, one of the most important facets of the farmers market is to bring fresh food and produce to, the community, and with the farm to table movement going on right now, I know that a lot of people have shown a lot of interest in it. What would you say is the reason behind the popularity there?
Well, I think as we've become a more global society, I think folks want to put a concentration and serve more focus into serving their communities in which they live. They want to make sure that the money they're spending are going to the small businesses and farms in which they live. And they also, in addition to that, they want to know where their food is coming from. I think our farmers markets give, those customers an opportunity to know exactly where the food's coming from, and they can talk directly with the vendors in which they're buying those products from.
Sure, and going along with that, I know that it is, a major initiative of County Executive Gordon to provide, positive exposure to local farmers and local vendors, and to bring that business, to the community. What would you say the farmers market provides to those vendors?
Well, I think, exactly like you said, County Executive Gordon knows exactly how important it is to support our local farms and local business. So our markets, provide a venue for them to or our vendors rather, to gives them additional income on top of where they're already maybe selling their products, as well as provides a jump start for some of those vendors. I can think of a few instances where we've had startup businesses come to our markets and they've become successful using that as a jumping board.
Sure, and I know that they're opening a new farmers market on Route 9,
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, it's, again, part of the county executive's vision to revitalize the entire Route 9 corridor. The centerpiece of that being the Route 9 Innovation District,
right,
and library. So, this is just a small part of that, and in giving access to those communities, and a resource like the library, we're also trying to provide access to fresh fruits, produce, and healthy foods.
Right,
for
to
those.
really bring the healthy aspect home.
And again, we want that community to make sure that they're taking it on as their own. to become stakeholders in the farmers market. You know, we're doing this for them.
Absolutely. Now, when do the farmers markets open, and how long do they remain open?
Well, the farmers markets actually open this week, starting on Thursday, May 21st, at Garfield Park, like we just mentioned, also at Rockwood Park. And those markets will run from 3 to 7. And then on Friday, May 22nd, this Friday, we'll open at Glasgow Park and at Rockwood Park. And those also run from 3 to 7.
And is there a kickstart? Is there an opening event for the Garfield Park?
Yes, we will be holding a ribbon cutting, grand opening, so to speak, for the Garfield Park, or Route 9 Farmers Market at Garfield Park. That'll happen on June 11th. I believe the ribbon cutting ceremonies will start around 4 o'clock. Our markets will run the same time from 3 to 7. There is also a community dinner that will run in conjunction with the ribbon cutting, and that will start at 5:30 and run until 7 o'clock.
Now, one of the things that I wanted to make sure was mentioned on the show is that a lot of people, when they think farmers markets, they think strictly produce. But there are many more options that are presented
certainly.
to them there. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the other things that they can see?
I mean, we have value-added products such as spices and honeys and jellies and jams, things of that nature.
And I know that Councilman Powers will bring meat and eggs up, and I know I personally have had them and they're fantastic.
Certainly.
So, you know, it really is quite broad. And speaking of honey vendors, you have a new honey vendor coming in.
We
is
do.
That correct?
Their name is Jacked Up Honey. They actually joined us at the end of last season at Carousel. I'm hopeful they'll join us at more than one market this year. Carousel and then one of the other Thursday markets.
Sure, and I know that one of the positive benefits of local honey is that they say that it can really improve, your allergies. And that would be something I would be interested in because I suffer from terrible allergies.
Yeah, as do I. But according to our honey vendors, they say a teaspoon a day for about a month or two, and it'll help relieve some allergy.
And I know a lot of people that are really into homeopathic healing would be interested
certainly.
in that.
Yeah, they certainly could benefit.
Now, who else could people see at the farmers market? I know that there are other events, such as events for children. They have a children's reading event, I believe.
It's called a Farmers Market Storytime, and we will run that at each of our markets on the second market session of each month, and that's sponsored by our Newcastle County Library System. And the stories that our librarians will come out will revolve around either agriculture or the farmers markets or things like that.
To sort of get the education in there early.
Yes.
Sure.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for coming in today. And before we wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Just that we'll be having a live entertainment weekly provided by Gable Music Ventures, as well as some other special events, giveaways, and promotions. Sure. And that will be running throughout the summer and up through the end of October.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today, and good luck. I know it's going to be a wonderful endeavor.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up this edition of Spotlight on Newcastle County. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Please keep it tuned to NCC TV for news and information on Newcastle County, Delaware. For executive producer Jim McDonald, director Tony Prado, and the NCC TV crew members Josue Ortega and Lisa Lancaster, this is Melody Kitchen. Thank you for watching. Take care.